Why, hello YouTube. It's Baylor Mage again, and we're bringing, I don't know if this is the last update or potentially the second last update. It depends on how much further I take this. But we got our Mage Blood. We managed to go into a Mage. This is now the most min-maxed I have ever taken this. Again, this is actually not the most damage I've ever had, but for me, this is the most min-maxed I've ever taken it because I've taken it in a very do everything, pay no attention, just try and be a tanky all-rounder, nice mapper style thing. So we're going to jump into game rather quickly, but as of putting on the Mage Blood, I have spent the second half of the day running 16 mod corrupted tier 16.5 maps, and I am 71% of the way through level 98. I did die, I think, twice the whole day, so I can still die to exceptionally dangerous things, but I am clicking every single altar that gives me anything positive without reading any of the downsides, and I am running 16.5 tiered maps without reading any of the map mods and putting a bunch of risk scarabs on them. So it's gone quite well. Let's jump in and show how we've done it. Okay, so here we are. You may notice that my health has actually gone down. I am down to only 5k life, but I have 940 ward. Now, that's amazing. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's answer the first and most important question. How did we go into a Mage Blood and what flasks did we do? So, what I should do, quote unquote, is have all 3 elemental flasks and a phasing flask. That's what I should do. What I actually did was I went for a ruby flask and a sapphire flask. The reason for that being that the 2 most dangerous things to me were big box explosions and volatile cores. So I just went with those, and I ended up just leaving the lightning flask off because I like having a gold flask. Having a gold flask is beneficial for one reason, and it's because I like having lots and lots and lots of gold. So I've got like 5 million gold in King's March. My wage is up to nearly 80,000 an hour. I'm using a lot of gold. I decided to keep a gold flask. I really should have gone triple lightning, or triple elemental rather. But it has given me 87 fire, 87 cold, and 77 lightning. Obviously, missing the lightning flask. Oh well. So be it. Still in the same chest. We are in the 128 breakpoint with enhance. It's fantastic. Level 30 summon holy relics. Obviously, I want to get a +1/+2 chest, but we haven't. But how did we fit poison chance? How this has been done in the past by everyone else I have ever seen move into a Mage Blood setup is they get themselves an adorned setup and they run a bunch of magic jewels. I didn't want to do that because our jewels are gross. We've got all those Wither Chance jewels, they're fractured, they're all over my build, and so I thought a bit about how I could get away with it, and what I ended up doing was fracturing an abyssal socket on a pair of ward gloves, and then making some really high ward gloves. In a perfect world, I will recraft these later to have faster recovery of ward as one of the suffixes. I definitely am well overcapped on every resistance right now, so we've got plenty of room to play with, although I also want the opportunity to test out the other helmet for the double, for the extra holy relic, so I'm not counting the res off those, but even not counting them, I've still got way too much cold, so I will easily be able to recraft these. Right, how did we do that? For starters, we moved a lot of things around. So we got aspect of the crab instead of, this is a knock-on effect. I'm sorry for how long this is. It's a knock-on effect. We got aspect of the crab and used it to replace our Herald of Purity. Because we did that, that's how we replaced our mana. That freed up 2 sockets in my helmet. It was, the only ones left was Herald and the Feeding Frenzy support. We still need Feeding Frenzy. That's a strong buff. So we put Feeding Frenzy in with the Summon Raging Spirits in the Svalin that automatically triggers. We almost always have 8, 10, 12, up to 20 of these out. Their job is to die. It's the same as before. Their job is just to be there and have less health than the other minions so that they die first. Their secondary job now is to also provide Feeding Frenzy. That also let me put one of my auras in here. So I threw Tempest Shield in here, which does not proc, even though technically it has an elemental tag, it doesn't turn on and off auras. So, Tempest Shield went over here. That means that my four sockets that were in my boots previously, I now only have 3 of left. Arctic Armor, Flesh and Stone, and my Frostlink. Which, that got me 1 socket back. So we moved our Lancing Steel of Spraying over to our boots, because that has to remain a 4-link, and then we got these 3 here with an Abyssal Jewel. That's how I got 1 of my extra Abyssal Jewels I needed. So now we've got 1 in my gloves, 1 in my weapon, as well as 2 here, 1 here, 1 here, and we had to take this one up here. We needed every single one of those sockets to reach 100% poison chance and be able to keep our Amenamahu's Gaze and be able to keep our Forbidden Jewels. This is stretched thin on passives. You could do this earlier than I have done it, but really only by about 2 levels. These are 2 floating nodes. I guess technically 3, but we're starting to get real squishy on the amount of life I've got. If you're losing 3 life nodes at this point, that's gonna be pretty rough. So I feel like Mageblood definitely wants to be higher level for this build, but that's how we fit everything in. You may also notice I had to get a fractured jewel for this slot, and that is because 1 jewel somewhere needed to keep minion leech so that I could keep leech cap, and also still give me poison chance, and still give me life. Unfortunately, both poison chance and leech and the Wither Jewel mod are all suffixes. So I would either need to get one of those 6 mod corrupted ones or just give up the Wither. Obviously, I just gave up the Wither. That's how we ended up doing that. So that got us into the Mageblood setup. Absolutely fantastic. Now, I do need to talk about why we made high ward gloves and why I want faster recovery of ward. This is specifically to go with Aspect of the Crab. Aspect of the Crab, you can craft on any item you want. It does not have to be on a ring. It just needs to be a suffix somewhere, anywhere. You can get a level 31 beast crafted on. It'll give you 12 stacks of Aspect of the Crab. Aspect of the Crab is 2% physical mitigation per stack. So with 12 stacks, that is 24% physical mitigation. That applies to degens you walk over as well. As long as you've got them when you're walking over like the Shape of Desolation debuffs and whatnot, that's 24% reduced damage taken. However, the downside of Aspect of the Crab is that you lose all crab stacks whenever you take physical damage from a hit. Anytime I take physical damage from a hit, it goes from 12 to 0. It only gains 2 stacks a second, so it takes 6 full seconds to get all my mitigation back. What we discovered was, if you take damage to your ward and it doesn't break through to your health, that doesn't count as taking damage for some reason. So I got myself a nice chunky amount of ward here, 940, and to be honest, if I was not running Onslaught implicit synth boots, I would also be looking to recraft a decent ward pair of boots as well. In a perfect world, I would like to keep tier 1 life on both the gloves and the boots, but the other prefix be ward. So we would have a really chunky percent ward on a ward base, and then our movement speed here. And this would be basically exactly what it is. except that the hybrid ward there would be a tier 1 life. That would be perfect. And then I think we would end up with like 12, 13, 1400 ward, something around there. And we would get faster recovery of ward so that it comes back up. Because now what happens is most of the time, because I am blocking 91% of hits, only 9% of hits get through. That first hit, unless it does more damage than my ward, only removes the ward, doesn't remove my crab stacks. And then hopefully the ward comes back before you get hit again. This is working really, really well for me so far. Obviously, we're quite a ways through on our XP bar. We've been doing dangerous maps to do it, but it could be even better if we had 2 ward pieces and if we had faster recovery of ward on both of them. That would be insanely useful. Whew, okay. That is the 2 really big upgrades we've made. So ward, huge amount of ward, changed into a Mageblood, done the aspect of the crab stuff. Now, it is worth noting I do not have a Progenesis yet. That is the next upgrade. Honestly, I probably should have made that upgrade first, being as it's half the price of a Mageblood and also gives us a goddamn huge amount of power. But in the path of building, you can see our max hit is now up to 33k, which is fantastic. A Progenesis, which is what I will be getting next, will bump that up to 41. And that should hopefully be the end of us dying. But for now, I don't have it. You will also notice that technically my DPS went down a tiny bit to do this. It wasn't much. We're still on 33 million. There are still plenty of places I can get more damage. I haven't felt the need for more than 33 million DPS, to be entirely honest. I'm far more interested in, can I make it smoother? Can I make it faster? Can I make it die less? Can I make it, you know, like, I just want it to play really well. I don't really care about seeing a path of building that's like, I found 200 million damage. I don't care. How does it feel to play? And right now, it feels so good to play. Okay, so that is my update. Again, we've got just the Merc stuff sitting in here that's taking up fake mana. In the notes section here, I've got what my Merc has. There's a screenshot of it. The gear that's on my Animate Guardian, we're still in the Learcast. I haven't upgraded the helmet to the like white socket helmet that I can't remember the name of. That would add a ton of damage. There's still more damage I can get out of a ton of places. But unfortunately, the change into a Mageblood did make me pretty broke. So we're officially like broke now. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that while the character's this rich, but there's very little currency left over after having made this. There's like 300 chaos and 2 div left. So we're gonna have to make some more money to do more upgrades. We're now cash broke. But going fantastically, still in love with it, probably gonna keep min-maxing it. Anybody who's still watching at this point, let me know in the comments when I'm done min-maxing this if you want to see me re-roll another version as Lightning for Doriani style things, because that's one of the things that I was considering doing. Alright, that is the update. Path of building will be in the description, and I will see everybody next time. Bye-bye.